Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my page and my channel. My name is Sierra Bazell, also known as Sierra the BB Doula, and today I have a very special guest with me. I have Miss Tabitha Jennings with me today. Welcome.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Tabitha Jennings. On IG, I'm known as Tabby_Takeover. And I am a blogger, writer, and an infertility warrior. So thank
Oh,
you.
wonderful. Well, welcome. She is an infertility warrior, and that is something that we share in common. So, thank you so much for joining us today because we know that this is something that is not really talked about as much in the African American community. But as statistics say, we are 2 times more likely to be infertile than our white counterparts. So this is a very, very important topic and important subject. Now, I want you to tell us a little bit about kind of how your journey got started and what your battle with infertility was like.
Okay. So at a young age, I had what was called appendicitis, which caused me to have an appendectomy, and they removed my appendix. Because of the type of appendicitis that I had, it caused a massive infection inside of me, and I was only like 13 years old. So that caused a lot of scar tissue to build up. And when they removed it, trying to scrape it out and things like that, it just kind of, and I don't know if you know, but the appendix is very close to I want to say your left ovary. I'm not sure which side, but it's very close to one of your ovaries. And when it causes the scar tissue, that could cause infertility. So that is what my infertility was related to. And growing up, I mean, not growing up, but as a young adult trying to have a child, I was in a long-term relationship and just trying. I was only 23 and I couldn't get pregnant. So I never had any miscarriages or anything like that. I just could not get pregnant. It was very hard just being young. And of course, like when you're that young, no one talks about pregnancy because one, they kind of like, you need to get your career going. You don't need to have a baby right now. But like that was always my dream. Like I wanted a baby and I was in love with he's my now husband, but my boyfriend at the time, like I knew that I wanted a family. So it's kind of really heartbreaking and like just not having anybody around my age to talk to about it. And like when I read stories, it was always, it was a lot of women that were dealing with it. So I was actually surprised, like, because no one talks, like I have family members and things like that. No one told me that, there was infertility or you could have issues with getting pregnant. I just saw people have babies. So it was very interesting when I started reading more and just finding more information. And I came across a YouTube page, and the girl on the YouTube page, she had a blocked fallopian tube. And I was like, okay, like, after I went to the fertility doctor, that's what they told me my diagnosis was. And I was like, okay, let me follow what she's doing. And I followed her. She had like a holistic routine and I followed it. And it took me about a year, I would say like 8 to 12 months. And I got pregnant. And they wanted to do surgery on me before though. And I was like, I don't want to do surgery. I just want to find something else. And because I had already had the appendectomy, they had removed scar tissue like 5 years after my appendectomy. So I had already had like surgery. And I'm like, this can't be the only way. Like there has to be other ways to, remove the scar tissue. And the biggest thing was like, they were like, oh, if we remove your scar tissue, it could cause more damage. Or we could remove, like, there's like, yeah, when they go inside, they're like, if we go in and we can't remove the scar tissue, then we'll have to take your whole fallopian tube. And I'm like, at 23, I'm only gonna have one fallopian tube. I was like, no, ma'am. And then they were like, well, if we, and it's if we go inside, it could also cause more scar tissue. So I was like, it was kind of like a lose-lose. I didn't see any good out of that. So I had to find something non-invasive. But yeah, so that is my story with my journey. And that led me to blog because I would say a year later, I was more comfortable with talking to people about it and telling them that I actually went through infertility. And, just hoping that other women would be more encouraged to share it while they're going through it. Because I think it's so, sometimes you get embarrassed and you get scared and it's a lot of emotion. So I just was scared. And I wanted other women to know, though, like, I went through it and you can be okay and you can talk about it.
Wow, that's so wonderful. And I want to touch on a few things that you said. So, the first thing that stood out to me was that you said, this wasn't something that was talked about in your family because, when I was going through my journey, I felt the same way. My mother actually had an incompetent cervix. So she lost a child before me, and then she ended up needing to get a cerclage with me, and I was
Wow.
born prematurely. But it wasn't something that we talked about, and I don't even think I found out about it until I was older.
Yeah.
So when going through my own battle with secondary infertility, it was kind of like I felt like I was the unicorn, where all my other family members were getting pregnant, and here I was having already had a baby, but now
On the second one.
wanting a second one and not being able to have one because of my C-section and the way that things were done. I don't know if you were able to hear a little bit about my story, but scraping that scar tissue definitely can cause a lot of issues.
Yes.
So, just you saying that you felt like nobody was talking about that, I can definitely relate. So I want to piggyback off of that and ask you, when you started sharing, how did your family react to learning that you had, issues getting pregnant?
It was crazy because they started telling me that they had miscarriages or they had issues. So then that's like, it opened that door for them to tell me information. And also, I got a lot of, oh my God, I never knew. Oh my goodness. And like, just, them being proud that I was sharing it, really supporting my blog and trying to tell other women about it. I get friends that refer me to other ladies now, like tell them about my book and everything. So it's amazing. And like, it was a lot of overwhelming support, and just like I said, them also getting those weights off of their chest, sharing their stories with not knowing that somebody else was going through the same thing.
Wow. So do you kind of wish that you had been more open before, or are you glad that you kind of waited? How do you feel about that?
I wish I was more open before. I think it would have been scarier though, to have the public eye on my journey with me. So I definitely understand how people can be more reserved at first. Because it's kind of like, well, what if it doesn't happen? Like, then you'll have people kind of asking you, like, what's going on? So I'm not that out like right away. I'm kind of reserved and then I open up. So just for me, it happened perfectly. And like, I think that was just, I choose this as a blessing to help others because like it worked for me. So like, I just want to help other women.
That's wonderful. And to know that you were able to unblock your fallopian tube, because I was able to unblock mine too, naturally, but the scarring had just done too much damage for me to get pregnant. So, it works. It does work. And it can be done. And it's encouraging to know that people are doing it and are able to get pregnant, because as we both know, when you get that diagnosis and somebody tells you, oh, your tubes are tied, you have to do IVF, that's like a gut wrenching blow. So when the doctor said that to you, what was your initial reaction? Did you automatically think, okay, I'm going to fix this thing myself? Or were you kind of devastated and then you decided to do something different?
I don't think I was devastated just because I knew it was something going on. Like once I knew it was something wrong. So that's why I even went to the fertility doctor. I'm like, I was just thankful that they were able to diagnose me, because
Mhm.
when I was reading about it before I even went, I was like, it's so many people with unexplained infertility. And like that would have been gut wrenching to me, for them to be like, you're fine and just go try. Like, I feel like that would have been hard to handle. But because there were options for me, I was like, okay, I'm gonna fix this. Like, either
Mhm.
I'm going to get the surgery or I'm going to look up more information to see how I can fix it. But just the fact that there were some solutions to what was I was going through, I felt, more comfortable, and I didn't take it as hard. It was kind
Mhm.
of like I was near the light at the end of the tunnel. It's like, well, now I at least know what's wrong with me. Like, I knew it was something.
Yeah. Awesome. That's really good that you actually felt, kind of a relief because you finally knew what the issue was. Now, you said that this was kind of caused, or it was caused by the fact that you had surgery as a child. And, I know that there are probably a lot of other people that are out there that are like you. They had to have something done when they were a child, and maybe it caused an issue when they got older. So what advice would you give to that person?
I tell that person to find out sooner rather than later.
Mm-hmm.
My biggest thing, especially when it came to fertility, is, with age, it's harder for women to have children. So even though, I knew I could have waited, it was more so I just want to make sure I can carry the child. I want to give it the best chance I have. When you're younger, your body is, more equipped to handle it, and it bounces back faster. You heal, it's just known that that happens. So I would say find out sooner rather than later, and just go after it and make sure you figure out what's going on before you try to treat yourself, and just be optimistic and positive. It's all about your mindset, I think.
That's really good. So, two things there. You said make sure that you find out what's going on. And that's always my biggest thing, because I know that a lot of us are now getting into all the natural stuff, and we
Mhm.
want to do all of these things and drink these teas and yoni
Right.
steams and all of these things,
Yes.
which are all great. But
Right.
if you're doing all of that, and you have some type of scarring, or you have a medical condition, then
Right.
you need to know what it is that you're dealing with. So I love
Yeah.
that you said, find out what's
Yeah.
going on first and foremost. So that was really, really good advice. And, just to encourage them to not wait.
Right. Don't wait.
Yeah, that's really good too. Because when you do wait, you could end up like me, who waited like 5 years. And if I had gone earlier, things might be different. So that's very, very good advice. Now, after your journey was over, how did you kind of come up with the idea to write the book? Was it just something that kind of hit you one day and you were like, okay, I'm going to share, or was it a process? What was it?
I think so. I always wanted to write the book first. Like, I think when I first went through it, I was like, this was so hard. Like, it was such a whole journey. Like, that's why the name of my blog is that. Like, it was a real journey. And it was like, I need to write a book about this. But I didn't know how to go about it. So I started blogging first. And like, blogging helped me organize my thoughts. It was
Mhm.
like I went through each and every phase. Like, when I got pregnant, going all the way back to what caused it. Like, I was able to break it down. So then after having my blog and doing it for a year and it being a little successful, like with my views and my page, like I was like, okay, now I'm going to compose this story into a book, because now it's all chaptered out. And so it just kind of came together like that. Like, it was easy once I had it all figured out.
That's awesome. So, in sharing your story, have you noticed that you get a lot of people kind of coming to you and saying, oh, I really enjoy reading your story. My story is very similar. Or do you kind of think that what you're doing is actually bringing, more stories out, and people are sharing with you more?
Yes, they DM me a lot. I get a lot of responses. especially about the blocked fallopian tube. Like, it's a lot of women struggling with that. And, it's a lot of different causes for blocked fallopian tube. Like you said, scar tissue, previous pregnancies, like it's so many issues. So I get a lot of women tell me that they're going through the same thing. They just got an HSG test. I had people send me their results and like, what do you think? And like, or even like, yeah, they just ask me like, hey, I'm having issues getting pregnant. And the first thing I always do is send them back to the fertility doctor or to a fertility doctor. I'm like, you got to go there first. I was like, let me know what you find out. And then we can talk about, what your next step should be. But yeah, I definitely get good feedback.
That's awesome. I'm glad that you're getting good feedback and that you're sending people to fertility doctors because, the people that come to me because I'm doula, natural herbalist type of person are always like, oh, well, what natural remedies can I use? But we need to know what the problem is, whether you use herbs or you decide to go the medical route. So please, guys, go see somebody first.
Yes, that was my biggest thing is like, because you don't know where to start. It's so many herbs and so they work for so many different things. You got to figure out what it's for first. That was my main thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So now that you have gone through the process of dealing with infertility, do you think that infertility made you a different type of person? Did it change you in any way?
Yes, it changed me a lot because now I look at people differently, especially women in the age of having children or when they're in relationships. You never know what someone's going through. So like if someone's been together for a long time and they don't have kids, I never say anything. Like I never ask. I never like, when you gonna try to have some kids? Like you have to be mindful of those things because like I know how it felt when I was in that position. So it's like I always just assume. I'm like, I don't know, maybe they can be struggling with fertility. Like that's my first thing is just to give that grace for people is like, you never know. So that's the main thing. And I think that's amazing because a lot of people don't have that. And I know they're not trying to hurt people's feelings and they just accidentally do. And it's like, sometimes that can be so hard for women dealing with infertility, being asked those type of questions.
Yes, it really can. And I thank you for saying that because a lot of people don't know what to say. So it seems like they just say the most random things. And they don't mean they don't mean anything by it. But when you're dealing with it, you could have just lost a baby that morning. You could have just gotten a negative pregnancy test, and people don't understand how heartbreaking that can be, and then trying to deal with their comments and not seem like you're upset is very difficult to juggle. So thank you for saying that. But my last question will be this. If you could change one thing about your journey, what would that be?
Wow, that's a good question. I think I would have made a video of it. I think I would have did like a video journal of like showing when I went to the doctor, talking about like I would have just vlogged the whole thing so that at the end it would have been a special reminder for me, my son to one day watch, and my husband just like knowing all that went into conceiving him. Like he was literally made out of love, and like I wanted him so bad that it would have been amazing just to watch the whole thing.
Wow, that's amazing. That is wonderful. And how old is your son now?
He's 3 now.
Aww.
He's down for a nap. I'm just like, I'm working from home with him, and it's too much.
I get it. I have a 3-year-old. He'll be 4 in September. So
you're in my boat. Oh my goodness. And these boys are so like, their energy levels are through the roof.
Yeah.
They're running out all day.
Yes, they are very different. I have 2 girls. My 2 oldest are girls, and they are not like him at all. So I get it. But if people want to find you or they want to purchase your book, where can they do that?
You can find me on my Instagram, Tabby_takeover. So that's me on IG. Facebook, my page is called A Natural Journey to Love. And then you can purchase my book from my website. It's www.anaturaljourneytolove.blog. So
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your story.
This was amazing. I'm so grateful for the platform. I'm so thankful for you. I would love to send you a copy of the book as well. So I'll be sending you one. Yes, I'm going to send you one to your email. I just really want to thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk to your fans or followers.
Oh, well, thank you so much. And it was my pleasure to have you here because, again, this is not the kind of story that you hear about often. When people get the diagnosis of blocked fallopian tubes, they're like, well, it's over. That's it.
It's not. It's
but you are living proof that it doesn't have to be that way. So thank you so much for sharing. And I'm going to ask that you kind of leave your information or email it to me so I can put it below the video so people can reach out to you.
Oh, for sure.
Thank you so much for joining us. See you guys next time.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.